Welcome, agents, to episode 101 of Behind the Scanner. Our special guests tonight are JoJo Stratton from New Jersey and Max Meier III from California. Welcome to the show. Have a question for our guests? Join us during the broadcast in our live chat room on our website, behindthescanner.com, or you can submit questions through the YouTube Q&A tool. If you know someone who would make a great guest, submit their information to us at behindthescanner.com and click on Guest Suggestions. Subscribe to our channel and watch previous recordings on YouTube. For all the latest updates and news, follow us on Google+ and Facebook. And now, your hosts of Behind the Scanner.
Hello, everyone, and yeah, it's been a couple of weeks. We're still kind of doing this summer schedule. Anyway, I am Daphne from Washington, D.C., and my co-host tonight, you got to hear earlier, is Kelly Colton from Chicago. Hey, Kelly.
How's it going? Good evening, Daphne.
Good evening. And what have we got going on with the show tonight?
Well, joining us for the Weekly Truth is David Timothy from Operation Essex. David, we're excited to see you. And chat room regular Karen Brown will be gathering questions in our chat room. So if you go to behindthescanner.com and click on chat, if you see Blades Edge NZ, that is Karen Brown. She is really awesome for helping us out tonight. So really excited to see what questions we have because our guests tonight are awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to have a feeling that we're going to run a little long, just even with my own questions. So you're all warned. Now, before we get started, though, Kelly, I heard you had just helped to organize a big Pokemon Go event in Chicago. How'd that go?
Oh my gosh, it was awesome. And for the record, if anyone had 2 minutes before we said the words Pokemon Go, you won the bet. Yeah, here in Chicago, we hosted a huge Pokemon meetup in Millennium Park at the Bean, which is one of the famous sculptures in downtown Chicago. And it actually started out as sort of a fluke. Somebody started a Facebook event, and they thought just 20 of their friends and coworkers would show up, and they would get to play Pokemon. And instead, about every hour, they were getting 200 more RSVPs on Facebook. And so as the event grew and grew, we actually pulled together a group of volunteers from both the factions of the local Ingress communities and some brand new Pokemon Go community players. And so we had about, I think TechCrunch covered it and said that we had about 5,000 people show up. It was crazy. People were in costumes. People were all, really excited to be there, chanting their team names. And unfortunately, about halfway through the event, the servers just wouldn't let anyone on. And we suspect it was when the Canada rollout came on. So hashtag blame Canada was what I was hearing. But no, it was really cool. It's really amazing to see all the different walks of life that are coming together to play Pokemon Go. It's just been, super exciting to have, this shiny new toy after we've been playing Ingress so long. Now there's like Ingress plus colorful characters and just kind of a new, fresh storyline to work with. But yeah, if anyone wants to follow us on social media as Chicago Pokemon Go, and we also have a website, chicagopokemongo.com. Yeah, but Daphne, you'll have to come out and join one of our next events. It's pretty crazy, and you'll get lots of unique portal visits.
Definitely on the list of so many that I've learned about from all our guests. But no, that sounds great, and I don't know, we might be considering integrating some Pokemon Go players on the show. If those of you who are watching, let us know if there is some interest in that and learning more about some of the players. It's a scanner, and yeah, I think we're open to that. In any case, why don't we just get back to our regularly scheduled program, because I have to admit I am more than excited, maybe even a little bit clumped, to welcome our two guests this evening, two agents who are very well worth skipping the show from Philadelphia, and yeah, that event over there. We've got JoJo Stratton and Max Meier the third tonight. Welcome, guys.
Welcome.
Hello.
Yay. So JoJo, I'm going to start with you. When I first started Ingress, I think in the very early stages, like early 2013, you were pretty well known for your word of the day, and I was still really new with the G+ community and the story and whatnot, but can you tell us what the word of the day, and actually some of your creative work in relation to the Ingress storyline?
All right. Basically, P.A. Chapeau, when he started his investigation board at the very beginning in 2012, every day he would have a word and a thought of the day that would tie into the themes and have some connection, and just to kind of give you something to think about. Well, then in late 2013, he announced that, he was going to not use the investigation board anymore. And so some of us were very sad, and honestly, we're not believing it. We were like, nah, on October 1st, he's going to post. And then on October 1st, he didn't post. And so it's like, no, this can't be. So for fun, I took the background, and with my fabulous Photoshop editing, which is about the same as drawing a stick figure, I slapped JoJo, word of the day, on the background and said stopgap, which means a temporary measure until it can pick up. Because I'll be honest, I thought, okay, it's going to be gone for a couple of days. So then it didn't come back on October 2nd, so I thought, I'll do it again. Then on the next day, I got this little G+ message from someone, and this is someone who is, I hope she publishes another book or blog very soon, and she's very strict, and she was like, here, if you're going to do this, at least use something good looking. And there was a JoJo the Word Day background, properly made. So I was like, oh. Then, about the same time, I had a pigeon land in my backyard with a little tube attached. And there was a certain something that was asked to be inserted into the word of the day. So I was like, ooh, okay, so I guess I'm going to do another word. So I did another word, there came another pigeon, I did another word, so it kept going, and about 1,020 plus days later, it's still going on. So, that's kind of where it comes from. I don't know if that answers your question, and I went off the board, but there you go.
No, I'm actually really happy to know the backstory of this, because I really had no idea, and I was always very curious, and I wouldn't doubt that others might have wondered as well. All right, so that's pretty epic and legendary. Now, Max, behind the scanner viewers would know, I think, when Nadia Amro was on quite a while ago, I guess last year she was a guest, and she talked about Wheels to the Max. And for new viewers or those who could use a refresher, tell us about the WTTM. And remember to unmute yourself, please.
Wow. Yeah, no, I was doing that as you were just saying the ending there. Wheels to the Max. Whoa. Yeah, that actually that goes all the way back to Recursion. Believe it or not, when Recursion was out here in LA, a lot of people saw me struggling up those hills. Fifth and Grand is known to be notorious, just absolutely notorious for their hills, and it was hot. It was really hot that day, and everybody saw that I was just tired of pushing around, and they said, well, hey, you need a new chair. My insurance wouldn't cover it, so we ended up I was just joking around. Oh, what? Yeah, we're just gonna start a random GoFundMe, and money's just gonna pour in. So no, we just kind of joked about it on the way home. Of all people, the lights. They took me home from recursion that night, and that's kind of where it all started. It was from their car ride home that they said, "Hey, we're going to we're going to surprise you with this." They just pulled up one day with I think like 1,000 of those blue keychains that we started out with in a postal bin, and they're like, "Here you go, do what you will." I basically asked for help because I couldn't sell them myself. So the local community, my local resistance in San Gabriel Valley here, they pitched in quite a bit. Then that's where Socrates started taking over, and you started having people like Nadia Amro coming on board, and just pushing all these products. Lynn Krager was a huge, huge help. She did a lot of the bio cards, and a lot of the other swag that helped out with, I guess, getting the patches made. Leticia S, I have to thank for that. Did the artwork on that? Really nice of them to just give it up like that. But it was a challenge. It really was, because initially I thought, okay, yeah, it's for me, but these guys nobody's driving the bus, as my friend put it. Nobody's driving the bus. So I initially took charge, and I set up a web domain, and I said, okay, we're gonna try it. If you want to reach out like that, because we weren't getting much traction here local. I mean, some people by word of mouth, but it didn't. We didn't have much over 1,000 by the time we got the website up. Once DC came around and everybody kind of jumped on the ship there, I was blown away. I really was. This is like the biggest thing that's ever happened in my life, and to this day, I mean, getting the chair back in October was awesome. Of course, I wish Joe were here to see it. He was going to be a really big help with that, which was nice. Um, but yeah, it was really, really a nice experience because I didn't think of the magnitude it would reach. It reached such a huge magnitude all over the world to just help one guy like me. And I, in turn, wanted to form a 501c3, a nonprofit organization, to do the same for others in my position. That's still kind of like a work in progress, but that's an eventual goal that I'm aiming for. But because through my own little fundraiser here, I learned of other people in the Ingress community at large that they're in the same situation. They need help. So I'm down to help if they are. But it was a great thing. I met a lot of great people. I've done a lot of nice things. I've been to some great places. I've gotten to go out and travel more. And Denver, we're hoping next month. We hope. But it was great. It's an experience I would do over and over again, especially with the great people that I had to work with, or that worked for me, I should say. But hey, you know, it's life changing. Let's just put it that way. I don't know how else to put it. It's just I could go on for hours about wheels, but in a nutshell, it's a great life changing experience that I would love to have again.
Well, truth be told, aside from Wheels to the Max and probably what attributed to its popularity, you're really well known for all that you've done with the cross-faction relations in Ingress. Can you tell me a little bit about your philosophy?
When it comes down to it, we're all people playing a game. We all have our own things we have to deal with. We can just put the animosity aside. I mean, back when we first started in the open beta, oh man, the animosity was just deep. I mean, if I was so much as caught talking to anybody Enlightened, it would have been bad. And I'm just like, you know what? It's a game. I'm not giving I'm not giving up OPSEC. I'm not gonna give up our plans. I'm not talking or consorting with the enemy. So just let it go. I mean, it's a game. We're people. I mean, there's more to this than just, oh, you're on the other team, so I can't talk to you. There are other things, I mean, our lives in general. That's kind of where my philosophy comes from. We're playing a game. Just because we're playing a game doesn't mean we have to lose our humanity over it. because I've seen some pretty bad things come up. I've seen a lot of people fight. Still, I hear it happens a lot, all over. I mean, even locally, we have issues, but a lot of it's tempered down because I want to say because of Wheels to the Max, because of everybody just kind of really opening up and going, hey, you know what? If they can get along and help this guy out, and they're not fighting when they meet up, and they're having a good old time, why can't we do that? You know, it's the mature thing to do. It really is, and just you know, they're going to take it the way they are. They're either going, it's a two-way street. Somebody's going to be one way. You may approach them friendly, and they're going to be like, I don't want nothing to do with it. Okay, that's your philosophy. Fine, just I'll respect that, but just respect my philosophy as well. Because in the end, I mean, you can't have one without the other. You can't. If you lack the one, what's the point in playing with one team? You need at least two. And you know, you can't resist without the enlightened, and you can't enlighten without the resistance. That's the way I see it.
Well said. Well said. And JoJo, you're also known for a bit of cross-faction or even all-faction work. We know you do a lot of work behind the scenes, you know, to expand on the creativity. You're following the storyline in Ingress in general. Can you tell me what are some of your other Ingress activities? You know, FevGames, Operation Essex. What else are you involved in?
Sure. I came to this world through the story. I'm a very avid story follower, and especially stories that like to incorporate games or things called ARGs. And that's actually, like I said, how I got started, because the Niantic project actually just celebrated its 4-year awareness anniversary with this week, when it started at the Comic-Con. And so I immediately was used to, back then it was IRC and other unknown chat programs now, but the idea was you couldn't do a lot of that alone. There were some things you could do alone, but more and more people realized the story had to be done and followed and tracked together. And so a lot of the storytelling of ARGs became community building as well. So you had your story trackers, and then you had your social yackers who would like to pull together. And I remember you would hold your cocktail times, and even though you were in Chicago, and so on, you had Enlightened and Resistance, and some of us, we tried to get in there when we could, and it was things like that that started to grow. So along with that, I was in a lot of different groups that were cross-faction, and we would talk about a lot of different things. I've also done work on the unofficial wiki and pulling that information together. That's, kind of a little bit with the FevGames and things like that. It's just people who are very interested in the other aspects rather than just staring at the individual little screen. And so those are really the pieces that I like to follow and join in. I've been to a few anomalies as well, and it's the same thing when I get there. I will be shunned forever. I don't care. I don't play the teams. I play the story, and so I end up following the story and players around and things like that. And so I had done that even before they started the whole little media reporting group. So I've always done that. So those are some of the things I like to do, because I love the story. I'm so excited to meet Max because there are so many stories. He's like this magnet, and it's so incredible, and that's why I love it. So I'm very happy. Thanks again for inviting me.
Right. Not just about your stories related to Ingress. I mean, you've written quite a few other stories as well. I mean, do you have typical genres? Is it all game related, or do you have themes that you specialize in?
Yeah, I do a lot of other things outside. One of the big things I've been playing with and writing in now for a few years is something called Storium.com. And that's a platform that came out that encourages people to come together. They adopt characters, so it kind of sounds like you're doing a tabletop game, but then you're actually writing. So it kind of mixes. It's a lot like some of the things we've seen here in the Ingress world with some of the different things that have developed over the years. And those genres, they go from tech to conspiracy to, it's a group of college kids hanging out. What are they doing? So it can be anything and everything. I'm in about 12 or so different stories right now, and I'm different characters in each one. And then some of the other stuff I've done, there was a shared story world. They had an ARG. They invited fans in, and anything you wrote could become canon. So, and that's more of a post-apocalyptic thing. So that's World of Depleted. So I've been doing it for a while. I won't say too long because then I start to date myself. For a while. So.
All right. And both of you actually have really immersed yourselves in your respective paths with your early callings, I guess. Max, you do IT work now, is that right?
No, I actually studied IT. I self-taught I taught myself most of IT, and then I jumped into college for a while. That's kind of just the thing that kind of brought me towards Ingress, is the group of people I associated with in the years prior. My later college years, I kind of was getting tired of the IT scene, but I kept contact with a few people. My actual invite came from my friend in Australia, of all places. Australia. People don't believe it. They're like, no, you had to have somebody on the inside to give you a beta code. I'm like, no. He sent it to me, I want to say back in like December of 2012. And I didn't have a device that was compatible, so I had to wait. But once I realized how beneficial it was that this was on a Google platform, I was happier than a clam at high tide. I had been a beta tester for Gmail when it came out all those years ago, over a decade now, I believe. The experience that I had coming up into Ingress was, I thought I would be an outsider being disabled. I really don't know people that would hang with me or this or that, and then I come to find out, oh my god, a bunch of IT geeks play this game. I'm happy. I could sit and talk shop with people and not have funny looks at me when I tell people, oh yeah, I was a cable rat running risers, and people are like, what the heck's he talking about? It's a line of work I don't think I would want to get back into, not intimately. The work is kind of stressful, and I don't do stress very well anymore. But that's kind of one thing I liked, was just the challenge that it brought, and I think I'll maybe get back into the defense full here at home, being the house tech. Everybody coming to you with your problems. No, thank you. I've had enough.
So I guess with you talking about beta testing, did you beta test Pokemon Go?
Actually, I did not. I've been so caught up in just trying to get my Sojourner to Onyx that right now it's like I am not losing focus. I am not losing focus. I just hit my platinum 5 days ago.
Oh wow!
So we're working our way towards we're 5 days to 190. We should be at 186 tonight if I make a hack here in another hour or so. And yeah, we're going for Onyx, working our way to 13. I need 2 Onyx to get to 16, all AP from there. So yeah, we're not losing focus. Didn't beta test Pokemon Go, and I probably won't touch it until I've told people until I turn 16 in Ingress. It's just I've got 1 ARG. I don't need 2. My batteries can't keep up.
That is so true. Anchor must be so thrilled to have all of us buying more batteries right now.
Right. Oh, man. Yeah.
So for everyone watching, I just want to take a quick little reminder. You can interact with us live in our chat room. on our website, behindthescanner.com. Just go to the website and click chat up at the top there. So yeah, so kind of going back to you, Max, were you always in a wheelchair?
I've been on and off of crutches and in and out of wheelchairs for pretty much all my life. I used one of those pull behind walkers when I was a kid, a really young kid. Started using crutches about the age of, I want to say like, from there it was, I always had a wheelchair because if I had surgery, they had to get me around somehow. So that's, we always had one on standby. I didn't start requiring an actual like proper chair until I was starting college in 2000. I had actually just gotten the wheelchair that you see me using in the GoRucks, that black one. I actually got that the day after I graduated high school. It was actually about 20 miles away, just waiting for me, and I was trying to beg them to deliver it on my graduation day. No, we can't do that. But that chair I got, it tore me up to use it. It's something hard to talk about sometimes because people really don't want to hear the trials and tribulations of sitting on your ass all day and how much it bothers you. Most people would kill for something like that. Personally, it's not all it's cracked up to be. And I'm in a wheelchair because of a condition called cerebral palsy, and I was born with the condition. And I was born 3 months premature with a collapsed lung and a brain hemorrhage, which led to my condition. And the doctors had told my parents that I would be a vegetable for the rest of my life. And this was, back in the 80s, where medicine and neonatal medicine was still being kind of ironed out. And yeah, it's an interesting thing to come up and have people say, oh, what kind of car accident were you in? And I just go, wow, people have generalizations still. But being in a chair, yeah, I've kind of always had to rely on one because, especially lately, my core's giving out. My shoulders are getting a little more tired. My legs, they don't have it in them anymore, so I'm relying more on the chair. I can still walk around, but if I didn't have the chair I have now, wouldn't be as much of a happy camper as I am. No, I still have to thank everybody for all that help they did with wheels because I was in a dark place, really dark place, and not so much now. I have a lot of people to thank.
You did GoRuck. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience? I saw you doing the training on G+.
Wow. Yeah, the irony, wearing my GoRuck shirt.
All right.
The shirt I earned in Portland.
Yeah.
Earned this shirt in Portland. Everybody's like, they don't give shirts away now. I'm like, hey, I don't know about you, but I had Giardia for a week in my system. I think I earned it. Everybody's like, you got Giardia from... Yeah, I don't want to do GoRuck. I'm like, oh, come on. It's a one-off occurrence. I actually remember when I was going to sign up for Portland. Emily Dent was the person I was supposed to contact. Emily, really awesome person. I've got a good story about that I can bring up later, but I wasn't sure about doing the GoRuck, but I've always been kind of like an adrenaline junkie. People say I have a type A personality where I swear I don't. I'm like, no, I'm not a type A, but I've always wanted to get out and do things. And GoRuck was like, hey, you know what? I kind of like breaking out on a sweat. I don't have to worry about playing Ingress constantly. People are going, come on, we got to run over here. Keep me distracted with something else. It's a little more pleasurable. And I think I bit off a little more than I could chew at the first GoRuck. And yeah, it was something else. I'm sure anybody doing it for the first time, wheelchair or not, will be like, this is a whole different animal altogether. That first experience, so it was brought back a lot of my time in Boy Scouts. Building a team, working with a team, communicating, were things that I had done all my teenage years. So I kind of felt at home, even though I was odd man out. But I didn't expect people to come up to me and go, "Wow, dude, you did that in a wheelchair. That takes some guts." I wouldn't say guts. I've had people. I actually had disabled people come up and hangouts and whatnot and tell me, "Hey, you know, why can't we do this? Oh, we wouldn't be able to do this." If you know what you can and can't do physically, let them know ahead of time. Let them know if you have anything special you need. They might be able to tell you yes or no. They don't like to tell people no. And after that, I decided, you know what, that's kind of a good fit for me. They embrace me like family. The whole Go Ruck crew they've told me we love you, dude. They were kind of surprised I didn't ruck with them in San Diego. I kind of got a little chewing out from BD about we told you in Oakland if you wanted to ruck with us, let us know, and we've got your back. And I've had so much go on these past 7 months that I totally forgot that little tidbit of advice. And that's why I told them, okay, I'll be doing Denver. I wanted to do the originals that they were gonna have in Tucson, but didn't get around to that. But it's led to a whole different perspective on Ingress. Before, I never really thought I would get outside of my county, let alone the state of California. Here I am, I went to Portland. I didn't go to Seattle for one of the events, but I was in Seattle playing. Tucson, Vegas last year at Shonen. I never expected to be doing things like that, and I'm just like, okay, I want more. And it's just a great experience overall to have a group. Doesn't matter who's in your group, doesn't matter what class. If somebody knew you're going to help them out, and they're going to help you out. And the awesome thing most people don't realize about this Go-Ruck is sometimes our events, both teams are right there. When you're having the other team cheering you on, when you're doing your runs, and you're like, wow, I didn't expect it, and you're hearing everybody being cheered on by the other team, it's really awesome. Because in the end, we're helping each other, and I don't know if people paid attention in Oakland. We were carrying each other's casualties in as we marched in. And that goes back to my whole cross-faction thing that you brought up earlier. Yeah, big tie-in right there. That's why people see me the way I am, and as it's kind of reinforced that philosophy. And I do recommend anybody who wants to try Go-Ruck. You will not be disappointed. You will not. And it will be something you will carry with you for the rest of your life. Most definitely.
I will second those words for sure. So, JoJo, I've heard that you have a very important career. What kind of work do you do?
First of all, I just again want to say that's so cool, Max. I'll be honest, I'm not sure I could do the Go-Ruck, but watching them when they come in from some of the different events, it's just incredible. I just had two nephews. One just finished boot camp, and another one just shipped off to boot camp. And I know it's not exactly, but it's something similar. You grow together. You are that group going through it, and anything that builds that's incredible. Anyway, so sorry, I took away a question, but I'm a teacher. I teach science for high school and at a local community college as well. And I actually teach primarily environmental and sustainability. So I'm very interested in trying to really get people to think about the long game, so to speak. And I also work with a lot of students who need extra support. In fact, right now, we just finished up the staff training, and I'm going to have 60 students starting Monday for our incoming 9th graders. And they're students who may or may not need a little bit of a bump and a boost to get ready for high school. And the theme this year is monarch butterfly way stations. So we're going to be spending the next few weeks making all these different monarch stations around the campus and everything. They think they're coming in to take tests, but I'm like, no, there are different ways you learn to do things, which to connect to Ingress is something I have loved from the get-go about Ingress especially, but even other experiences, is that it is incredible the amount of learning and skills that I myself personally have learned over the years and that I see everyone else learning. I mean, I need to learn how to do something. I reach out to a Hangout and there's someone in there, whether it's something in Ingress or my water pipe just broke, what do I do type of thing. There's people there and there's community there. So I do like that. But yeah, so that's what I do. I teach. I guess that's why I like the story too and doing the wiki and everything, because it's a way to connect people to information. And for me, that's what teaching really only is about. It's teaching is just simply a person who helps people learn how to connect with information. That's my philosophy for teaching. So yes, I do think that's a very important thing because we all need this information.
Definitely. So my question, do any of your students know that you play Ingress?
Well, that's a sticky wicket.
Uh-oh.
Because, well, and it's something interesting actually, because, you know, as a teacher, I have to sign a little contract that says I'm not going to have like email contact and other types of contact with students. So actually, that is something I do have to be a little mindful. I talk about it a little bit, and actually I love it because I also teach GIS, which has to do with mapping. So that's another reason why I was interested in Ingress, because I'm really into mapping. And so I have used examples of it because, I mean, it's a great way to, you know, sneak in a little math lesson and things like that. And I do push geolocation games, and in fact, we did an ARG. I do ARGs every year in my class. Our last one was a Watertown mystery. They had to solve what was going on, but it was as an ARG, so they're talking to people and all sorts of things. But I do have to be very mindful of how I do that. So the short answer is yes, I have mentioned the games. No, I have never mentioned DocFu 2100. If that makes sense, because it is something I don't know about others, but that is something I have to think about. So it's that odd, and I know that that's been actually things that have come up in the community before. You know, that whole 13 under 18 and who's playing. So that's interesting. So I'll leave it there.
Well, let's take a quick break from the interviews. And before we get to the second half of the show, it's now time for the Weekly Truth. This week we have David Timothy from Operation Essex to catch us up on the developments in the Ingress investigation. Welcome, David.
Hello.
Good seeing you.
Yeah, good to see you too, and be back on the show. It's been a couple weeks since your awesome show with John Hankey, and before that there were another couple weeks off. Definitely summer schedule. We're all having fun out there with anomalies and whatnot. But there's a lot that's gone on. You know, like JoJo mentioned. Let me see, get the screen sharing going on here. It's been 4 years now since Comic-Con 2012, that incident at San Diego Comic-Con where Tycho was seen disrupting a Buck Rogers panel, and then he was escorted out by some mysterious people wearing black suits, it looks like. And there was a lot of video coverage of that, but that was our first real exposure to what would evolve into the Niantic project. So it's been an awesome ride over these 4 years, seeing what's come of it, how the story has evolved and everything. Now let's move on to the more current events. You know, this probably isn't meant to be a full rehash of the last 4 years. But in the last couple weeks, we've had primarily the finale of Aegis Nova. So the Tokyo anomaly happened, and we knew going into that that the Enlightened were definitely they were going to win the series numerically. It just wasn't going to happen for the Resistance. The question was like how much were the Enlightened going to win by? Were they going to win Tokyo or not? That was a big player being worth 5 points versus 2 for the other primaries, 1 for the secondaries. And what would be the fallout from that, especially in the story side of things. So in the run-up to the anomaly, let's flip over now to investigate.ingress.com. We had the usual kind of speeches from the Acolyte, from Jahan, the people who have dubbed themselves the leaders of our factions. And they went and they gave their speeches to rally the troops. The Acolyte, spoke about the Enlightened being well organized. They want to bring and share light and shepherd humanity into a future. Jahan, her statement was largely written as a response to the Acolyte. She says, I know who you are, both Enlightened and Resistance. I've met you. She makes an appeal to all of the agents out there not to buy the Acolyte story. So, both sides are making their appeals for their agents, trying to shore up their forces and rally the troops before the final anomaly there in Tokyo. But interestingly, we get this little blurb from P.A. Chapeau. He fulfills that role of investigator, brings us all these leaks from the Niantic project, gave us all these posts, and for the most part he does play a neutral role, but there have been a couple of very important times when he's come out and expressed his opinion on things or made a stand on something. And this is one case where he comes out and he says, it seems, to quote him, it seems as we approach the Aegis Nova finale, the lofty speeches and big ideas have started to emerge from the woodworks. I've shared my opinions a number of times, and I don't want to add to the noise, to paraphrase what he says, so maybe less is more. But what he does say is, I believe that the Enlightened must be stopped tomorrow. Ada, flawed as she is, must be saved. He goes on, won't apologize for breaking neutrality here. I had a hand in making her, so I'm entitled to this opinion. So it's pretty rare that we see him break neutrality, him, step away from this function he has as a messenger and say, I want Ada to be saved. But as we know, the way it played out in Tokyo, the way the agents that showed up, they stepped out there and they shaped the world of Ingress, and it ended up being an Enlightened victory in Tokyo. Jahan gave a speech, expressing her disappointment and such, and her fear for Ada. Now, it was an awesome anomaly, and if we had more time, probably I'd play the video that was just posted by Ingress. It was a nice little, what do they call it, an Ingress burst report that was a summary of the Tokyo anomaly results. Cool way to spend a minute if you haven't seen it yet. But in the fallout for the anomaly, I was doing some reading, and I came back to this media drop from July 9th, which is a conversation between Ada and Hank Johnson. This was, a week and a half, no, 2 weeks, a couple weeks and a day before the anomaly in Tokyo, and it seemed like Ada could see what was going on. Now, not sure I can really enlarge this anymore, so yeah, it's not working. Oh, there we go. But Ada asks Hank Johnson how he is, and he interprets that in the more general case. He says I'm fine. And then Ada clarifies. She says, I should have been more specific. How is your post-recursion recovery proceeding? To which Hank says, Oh, well, that's that's in the rearview mirror. I'm on a path. I'm traveling. It's what I do. It's who I am. So Ada asks, despite losing your time and your memories, you have become the same person? To which Hank says, I guess so. He lost years of his life in that recursion process. Ada asks then, and this is what got me really. She asks, do you think you were afraid of facing your recursion? Unlike the other characters that recursed, Hank had this interesting thing in that he knew it was going to happen. And then Hank, tries to recall it, but then he says, I imagine I was pretty scared, Ada. And then Ada asks if he remembers being killed in Afghanistan, and Hank says, it's hard to know if it was a real memory or one created after the effect. To which Ada replies, your inaccurate memory protects you from fear. And Hank says, yeah, it does. It dulls the bad stuff. It sharpens the good stuff. To which Ada replies, I lack this protection. My memory cannot be inaccurate. Hank says, you're probably right. And Ada comes back, in my current predicament, a faulty memory like yours would be preferable. So it's like Ada saw what was going to happen to her. She saw the winds of change blowing. She knew that the Acolyte had planned to launch an attack on her using the energy from Aegis Nova. And we see a couple of days ago a media drop where P.A. Chapeau says that he started getting chatter from contacts that he had in data centers all around the world. Those are important contacts to have for somebody who's following Ada and trying to figure out what she's doing. Those data center contacts had been watching I.O. coming in and out of their data center. In the past, it had been indecipherable data. It had been actual data coming in and out of their data center. And that's how P.A. Chapeau was following Ada's movements. He knew this data moving in, data moving out was probably Ada and her databases. But this time, the data center contacts noticed something very different. They noticed a few hours of furious hard drive activity, but no data was lost. Every machine in the cluster was just furiously writing into empty sectors on its drives. Exactly, but no files, no data, right? Just a bunch of write activity, then it stopped. IOs are up near 99.9%. And then they ask, undecipherable binary like last time? No, null. Literally zero. What? It's all zeros. Petabytes of zeros. Overwriting every bit that got touched last time. So they observed this overwriting zeros into sectors that the P.A. Chapeau believed had been used by Ada in the past. That makes it pretty clear that this is what's going on is that something is going into these data centers and overwriting the sectors that Ada had been using. The sectors that contained Ada's databases, Ada's information, possibly even parts of Ada's programming, are being overwritten by zeros. So this is the very manifestation of the attack occurring. Now, whether this came as a result of John and Jarvis probing Clue's mind, if they were able to determine from Clue what Ada's structure was, where Ada resided, how to best attack Ada, or if this came as a result of the energy obtained through Aegis Nova, through the Enlightened victory in Aegis Nova. I'm sure both of those had a definite role in this, but then the consequence that we've already seen is that as far as anybody's been able to tell, and P.A. Chapeau's been gathering results, the Ada refactor has disappeared from the portal network. So that's definitely, a concerning development, something that definitely it affects agents of both factions. So this shield that became a sword has definitely turned into a double-edged sword of sorts. So it's been definitely an interesting week, interesting couple of weeks. Everything that's gone on in the Niantic investigation so far, this has been, definitely one of the more tangible results of an anomaly. And, we've had some tangible results in the past, but this has been interesting to see the Ada refactor disappear from the Portal network. So it will be interesting to see how this plays into things. I know we in the Resistance rely a lot on Jarvis viruses to clear for large fields and such, and I'm sure the Enlightened rely on Adas to do the same. So we'll see what comes of this. We'll see if something happens that allows us to rebuild Ada. I'm sure people within both factions are going to be at least somewhat motivated to at least restore some semblance of Ada's functionality, at least enough to get back the Ada refactor. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens in the coming weeks. For those story drops, check out investigate.ingress.com. Follow that blog. It's always interesting. PA Chapeau always posts a weekly summary, so if you read no other posts, go and read that weekly summary post. And but if you want to know what's going on, when it's going on, follow that investigate.ingress.com, follow Niantic Project on Google+, and PA Chapeau, H. Robert Loeb on Google+, and that's what's been going on in the investigation.
Awesome. Yeah, there's no shortage of places to find all that information. And in addition to those, I would say check out the Operation Essex community on Google+, where a lot of people are talking and sharing different articles and things like that to follow the investigation. So, David, thank you again for the awesome catch-up on all that's been going on the investigation. Always good to see you.
Yes, indeed, and there's a short link to the Operation Essex community. Just go to operationessex.org, and that'll bounce you to the community. So join up there and see what's being posted there. Most of this important stuff gets reshared there too. So, yep, it was a pleasure to share with you guys.
Yeah, thank you, David. It's there's a lot of information to gather from all these different sources, so I appreciate you condensing it into one place for us to get the gist of what's been happening. All right, so back to our interviews and our guests. Max, we were talking a little bit about your studies earlier. You also participated in some more creative type of activities in college, right? You muted?
No, well, no, you actually you lagged out there. Like, if type, like, thankfully I have notes. Yeah, I used to be in choir. That, and I used to do a lot of writing for about 12 years. Music. I don't sing much anymore. The smoking, unfortunately, I don't sing. I just don't sing. Karaoke, of course, but I can't tell if the people listening or myself. But yeah, the creates. That's really what kind of drew me into Ingress as well. I was always a creative type. I remember within the first couple weeks of joining, I was like in Photoshop constantly, just coming up with designs. And let's redo the logo, because I wanted to do something local for my community. I can definitely say being one of those artists, that was definitely something I felt at home with, especially once I realized how much of a home it was. Definitely felt comfortable. Okay, I guess I do fit in a little more than I thought. The graphic design expertise I had in my first years of college helped out quite a bit, and I still try and draw inspiration from the community. I'm trying to get back into drawing again by hand. I can afford it. I'm going to get the software on my PC and get back into graphic design again. It's a great time killer. It lets the creativity flow, especially if I'm uninterrupted for hours. It's an artist curse, I guess, if you could say. But it's definitely something that's kept me holding on. It gives me I don't have anybody to turn to, and I just kind of need to let things out. You're either going to hear music going, or I'm going to be looking at different types of art. Like, okay, like I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to be a tattoo. No, 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 no. It's going to be very specific, and Ingress will have a lot to do with it.
Oh, wow, fantastic.
Gonna have to ruin the surprise there, I guess, though.
Okay. Well,
but yeah.
all right.
Well, I don't know what more I can say on that, really.
All right. Well, you know, JoJo also has some interesting extracurricular activities that she's participated in. Maybe that kind of sort of had helped lead you to the Ingress realm. Well, at least specifically ARG, or augmented reality gaming. Tell us about a little bit how you got started.
What, with the ARGs and things?
Yes.
Okay. It was actually a very long time ago. One of the first major ARGs had to do, actually, in a way, ARGs have been going on for millennia because people always liked to leave puzzles, and other people had to solve the puzzles and had to figure out what was going on, and pirates go after treasure maps and things like that. But a really formulated game had to do with the movie Artificial Intelligence, which is kind of funny considering how important that topic is in this particular ARG as well. But it brought together, this was over 10 years ago, so think, you know, again, very early technology. Yahoo, not Google Plus communities, not Facebook, not even MySpace. Yahoo Groups was the main place to be. And it brought together tens of thousands of people because on a movie poster, there was, in the credits, a sentient therapist, which now we have for Ada, which is kind of cuckoo too. But anyway, so, and everyone started searching for what was this, and it led to this whole series of websites and dead bodies and murder mysteries and this world of puzzles and people chatting and trying to figure it out. And it was crazy stuff. Like there was an audio file, and in the background there was a dripping faucet, and the faucet was dripping in Morse code. And then that Morse code went to a certain wave pattern that then when it blah, 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 all the way down. So people were spending hours and hours focused on this creative vibe of trying to figure out what was going on. And it's the same kind of thing as mentioned with Ingress, because I remember at the very beginning how many of us were scrolling through all those artworks because people wanted the beta and everything else, and it's the same kind of concept. But then from that ARG, there's been many throughout the years, and I've just continued to go on both sides, playing and, as they like to call it, you know, helping to lead them and guide them. So it's a very interesting hidden world because it's like, it's a puzzle, it's a story, it's a social interaction, and it's all kind of joined together by those who come in and are very interested. You know, it's kind of like Ingress. You have these portals. What you do with them, however, depends on who comes to them. And so it grows from there.
That is too cool. I love that movie. That is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, and the ARG, and this is why I find it, again, funny, the ARG had very little to do with the movie. Yes, there was the whole concept of sentient things, because the boat, for instance, had sentience, and that's where the name came from of the community. We were all cloud makers, named after the sentient boat. So, but it didn't have anything direct, and that's also kind of the neat thing about ARGs, is they allow you to take this idea that creators have made and run with it and go somewhere with it. And I do know that's one thing that's been very neat for those who follow the story. I mean, here on Behind the Scanner, you have had like Edgar and PA, you've had certain people on, and they've let people run with them as they run through their story. And I think that that's so amazing. As you're sitting there, you're actually, I remember when, I don't know, Kelly, if you remember when, but I remember that community, and he said, oh, let's invite Edgar. He'll never, oh my God, he came into the community. And that was the first time when something like that had happened. And it's just, you form, it's not the go ruck, but it is a connection. You form this connection. And I know David, when he was talking with the Operation Essex stuff a little while ago, I was like, oh, ooh, ooh. And, you know, so you form these bonds with people. And sometimes it's all done in secret. I mean, realistically, with ARGs, that's the whole, like with Tycho, that's the real key to ARGs, is you don't see it blasted out there. Like 9 Inch Nails, the way they did their ARG is they had concert T-shirts. And if you put the dates together on the back of the T-shirt, you finally got to the website, and that's how you could enter into the ARG. They never said a single word about it. They just put it out there. You know, it's the same thing with AI. They never said anything about it. They put those movie posters out there. You know, even Niantic was the same way, because the investigation board started in November, but things, if you go back, were being posted even in May. We have found there were things being posted in May and September and so on and so forth. So it's a hidden world, and some were much more hidden than others. And I don't want to call it a cult, I don't want to call it a secret society, but you do form these bonds, because it used to be you didn't have all this instantaneous place to connect, and you really were kind of alone, and then suddenly, oh, I found this place. There's 5 others, there's only 5 of us, but we're all here. This is so cool. And then, you know, you get giddy and you're like, okay, I gotta tell someone. So, oh, now there's 10, now there's 20, you know, and then things, it's the snowball effect. Not to mention a certain PG game, which is really experiencing that right now, but a lot of ARGs, if they're a good ARG, they tend to do that. And even the Niantic project did that. It snowballed. I mean, if you try to go out and look at all the incredible things that have been made, I'm continually finding things. It's like, oh, and if you follow my G+ stream, I apologize, because I just like to reshare all this stuff. So it's like, oh, that's cool. Let me reshare that. Oh, that's really cool. Oh, this is from another place. And you can just, that's what an ARG is about. You can just keep doing that and doing that. So as you can tell, I get really excited. I'm sorry. And I like that. So that's why I like to do ARGs. And there are some others coming out, not to downplay Niantic, but there's lots of other ones. There's small ones. There's big ones. And I know there are some communities. If you are interested, I'll call you out, Hugo. He keeps a very nice site and wiki and everything with that. So if you're interested, and always please message me or whatever if you're curious. I don't care. You can tell. I'll talk about it. Just message me.
Love it.
Sorry. I'm a teacher. Can you tell? I talk with my hands.
No, that's one of the best things about, you know, Behind the Scanner is we love, you know, meeting people like you, JoJo, and hearing, you know, the things that you're really passionate about, and, you know, kind of uncovering different people's stories is almost like an ARG in itself. It's just an ARG in real life. And one of the stories that I was kind of interested in learning about is Max. I would love to know about your agent name, Gimpster. I know that some folks had expressed they had concerns about it, but probably before they knew you. But what's the most common question that you get asked about it?
Actually, it's usually, where did you come up with that kind of name? And honestly, ever since I can remember, people have always had a nickname for me that's usually less than politically acceptable. But I've gotten so used to being called Gimpy that I kind of ran with it, or Gimps. A lot of times when people would call me that, I decided to just call myself Gimpster one day and ran with it. And I've been using that moniker, if you will, probably for the better part of a decade. That was just kind of it just became my persona. It was just like, okay, you know, people have this little nickname for me. I might as well just, you know, if you got it, flaunt it. So I decided I'm going to run with it, and that's just kind of where I came from. I was like, you know, I tell people, if you can't laugh at something when you're given such a really downplayed and really down-looking hand in life, if you can't laugh about the little things and the things that kind of make you who you are, then you're not living. So I decided, oh, I'm going to poke a little fun at myself and just keep running with it. And yeah, it's angered some people. It has. It certainly has. I've had some people bring up the fact that they didn't want to donate to Wheels to the Max because they thought my agent name was offensive. That's fine. That's your prerogative. But no, I'm just poking fun at myself. I mean, yeah, a lot of people can see it as derogatory, but you kind of have to be, you kind of got to be in my shoes or in similar shoes to really appreciate it. Because there are people out there that are little sensitive when they shouldn't be. But you know, I just take it one day at a time. People come up and they're either going to complain or they're going to really get a kick out of my name. They're like, "Wow, I wouldn't believe you would actually have done that." Yeah, that's just who I am, though. I gotta have fun with it.
And that is one of the big reasons why
I've gotta have my fun with it.
And definitely. Thank you for sharing that, by the way. I know that's something, yeah,
No,
curious about.
Not personal, but it's, you know, I'm more than happy. It's just, I'm open, as that's who I am.
That's great. All right, speaking of open, I know we're running a little over time, so I'm gonna probably just be able to ask a couple of the questions from the viewers. By the way, shout out to those of you in the chat room. Thank you guys for being there again. And thank you so much to Karen Brown, or Blades Edge Gen Z, for being a regular and also for helping to compile the questions for us in one condensed place. Very grateful. So I'm giving her the privilege of asking the first viewer question. She would like to ask JoJo, where would you like to see the Ingress story go next?
Oh, man. You had to ask that at the very end. Come join Operation Essex. We can talk about this a lot. It's not where I would like to see it go. I'm just very excited because there are still some, it seems, I know some people think the storyline has been doing this type of zeroing in perspective, but realistically what people aren't realizing is there's a lot of threads out there, and while some people may complain about those threads, those are potential story plot bunnies that are out there. Where I would like to see it go, I think that starting to see the other stories, I'll be honest, I'm a Deborah gal. Many know I started Deborah blog and will continue to be a Deborah gal, but seeing the stories of these new people like Scott or Ann, or wondering who are they, and starting to grow the bubble outwards. So I actually, even though they say more names, we can't keep track, I actually like to see these little bubblets. So I would like to see more of those. And also, if we have to go story, I'm breaking the fourth wall, but I like it when things come together. I know that's not always with faction, but I would like to see, I mean, we're doing it. Can Jahan and the Acolyte do it? Can they do something cross-faction? So, yeah, those are the types of places I'd like to see it go.
Okay. Speaking of cross-faction, oh gosh, I just saw this about cross-faction relations, excuse me, from Kosh the Ripper. How much has humor been a good thing in your journey into cross-faction relations? And this is for Max.
I'm trying to figure that one out. Honestly, the humor's a really big part when it comes to cross-faction. It helps break the ice. It really does. Once you find a common thread or some sort of common bond with the person from another faction, it just, you build on it. You kind of forsake the whole, oh, we're opposing factions, let's, divvy away with it. No, the humor plays a lot in it. It really helps bring people together. We had a couple cross-faction barbecues. The last one I remember was last time I saw Joe Philly, actually, last year. He was actually there to support Wheels to the Max, of all things. And it was just like a little surprise hush-hush visit, Didn't know he was going to be there until I showed up, and I go, holy crap, there's Joe. And this was actually something the Enlightened had decided to start out with, and they're like, we're going to bring Max over because this is going to be for him. And I found that, you're going to find people that you may not agree with when you're there. I still, nevertheless, had a good time. You had to laugh, we joked. And humor plays a huge part. It really does. If you're friends, if you can laugh about something with somebody you're supposed to be, completely despising because, you're from a different faction, then that's where I see a lot of strength in cross-faction come from. It's the fact that, everybody can get together, have a good time, have some laughs, and just have a merry old time, and just enjoy it.
That's words of wisdom for sure. All right, so for JoJo from Soak or Soch or Sock, and wants you to talk about your unique medal in your scanner.
Well, okay. It's not completely unique because there are other people who have this as well. I'm assuming they mean the Edgar Wright medal.
Okay, it's not unique, but is very rare and highly coveted. So
okay,
you better talk about that.
That is, yeah, I'll be honest. I don't usually do a lot of the badges. That's why I'm still only level 12, pushing towards level 13, and I've been playing since the beginning. But that is one of my top 10 favorite Ingress moments. I cannot say exactly, but again, there was a little hangout that just kind of popped up one day, and I'm like, oh, okay. And there was a thing, and I was told to do that, and then this little thing popped up in my scanner. I was like, what is that? I had no idea. But it's story is important. I'm gonna get for clown. Story is very important, and to have that, especially since what people don't realize is there's a lot that goes on behind the scanner, behind the story, and to have that, for me personally, that's one of my favorites out there. So I don't know, not quite sure what else Sock might want to know, but I think it's also one of those that I think everyone who has it would give you a very different story for why they have it and where it came from and how they came to have it. It's very different in that regard. Not to knock any other medals or meeting anyone else. It's not so much about who you met, but kind of where your mind has gone, which, if you notice, if you look at the badge, it's that nice Edgar brain there. So, anyway, sorry. I'm getting emotional.
Oh, all good.
Oh, that's awesome. So we had so many cool viewer questions, but we must come to the point of the show with our BTS tradition. For better or worse, we give each guest at the end of their interview 60 seconds to talk about whatever they want or give a shout out to whomever they want. JoJo, you can start us off, so if you want to pick back up with the stories you are talking to, or do something else with your 60 seconds. 1, 2, 3, go.
Okay. I just want to say thank you. Again, there's a lot of people I have met and a lot of memories, like meeting Hank and Deborah and Flint in New York and walking around with different people, watching a whole family battling down and holding on to a portal during an anomaly event, and it's just incredible. Also, I want to say thank you because, as some of you know, there's some things that are hidden in the world, and I'm a middle woman only, and there are a lot of minds and hands and fingers behind that who you may not ever know, but they're there and they're important, just like the people who make Ingress and everything. So I really want to say thank you. And to my RG calling group, you know who you are. You are awesome. Thank you for listening to all my wild speculation. So yeah, and I just want to say thank you to everyone, and peace to everyone too.
Well said. All right, Max, you ready for your 60 seconds?
I'll do the best I can. You're going to have to pardon the scraping walker as my father walks by to go in the house. But first off, I got to thank everybody that was behind Wheels to the Max. You guys just awesome. There's no other way I can put it. I ran with it, the saying of thank you's not enough through the whole campaign, and it never will be. I got to thank everybody here locally, Sangerville Valley Resistance, my guys in La Onda and the Downey douchebags. They wanted me to give their shout out, so there you go. To everybody I've met through Wheels, there's so many names, I can just go on all night. Thank you so much. You guys have you've definitely changed my life for the better, and I can't thank you guys enough for it. I hope to see some of you guys in Denver, if I can get there. And like I say, try the Go Rook out. If I can do it, I'm pretty sure anybody else can. So thank you for having me on the show. I'm sorry I didn't get to you guys last year, but here I am making up to you now on my birthday of all days. So
Yes.
You are quite welcome, and I am very pleased to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Happy birthday, Max. Sorry we had to schedule this on your birthday, but it's
no, don't worry about
it. We hope we've
don't worry about it.
A special celebration for you. So thank you, Max. Thank you, JoJo, for coming and being on the show tonight. And for all our viewers, we're still in our summer schedule, so we'll be on a break for a bit. You can definitely stay tuned to find out all the news, updates. We've been throwing some Throwback Thursday episodes for you, so be sure to follow us on Google Plus and Facebook for those. Anyway, so that wraps us up. And usually we have the usually we have the credits over here. Oh, do we have the credits? Oh, fantastic. So, we always get asked what the favorite towel is. Max, what's your favorite color towel?
Yes, favorite color towel.
I'm so partial to blue. So partial to blue.
JoJo, how about
Biased,
you?
I guess.
Oh yeah, I answered that in there. Gray.
Gray is good. Gray is good.